Hello, my loves, and welcome to the podcast creation workshop. The reason that I've decided to create this workshop for you is so many people say to me, "Oh, I want to start a workshop." And so many times I'm connecting with a client, I'm getting that psychic guidance that they need to use their voice more. But to create a podcast feels so big. It feels overwhelming. It feels like I don't have the technological skills, technological, I don't know, whatever skills to do it. Maybe I don't speak eloquently enough. Would anyone listen? How would I structure it? And how do I even get it out there? How do I get it on Spotify, right? So this podcast is going to give you, along with the ebook, is going to give you a step-by-step process on how to do that. But first, I want to lean into why it's so powerful to have a podcast, okay? The number one reason for me that I love my podcast is it's a place of expression for me. So it's a place when I get to show up and speak what's on my heart and put it out there. So unlike say Instagram or, a social platform where I feel that I need engagement a little bit, I know that that's not the point, but if I went on a live, I'm looking at engagement. If I'm posting to a story, it's expiring within 24 hours. If I'm posting on a reel, then I'm probably micromanaging how I look, or maybe I'm not showing up because I'm like, fuck, I'm in my dressing gown. I don't want to record a reel that stays there forever. So a podcast is great because you can sit there naked if you want, and you can record a podcast and it can sound fantastic. Yeah. It's a really powerful way of showing up, and whilst we were renovating, and even before that, when there was pockets of my home that needed fixing, it's like, how do I find a nice background? Podcast, incredible audio way to express, right? It removes a lot of the barriers. The second part is once you put it out there, it's out there forever, which is an empowering, beautiful thing. Like it can help people forever and ever and ever and ever. So if you're finding that you run sessions or you're running workshops or whatever, and people are receiving incredible life-changing advice from you, or just things that are even helpful, practical, recording a podcast episode is going to allow more people to be helped by you. It's going to allow your legacy to live on. It's also a way that you are continually marketing without having to show up all the time, right? So someone might find a podcast that I recorded 3 years ago and be like, oh, I found this podcast episode. It drew me to you, and here they are. So it's an evergreen kind of product that is going to continually draw people to you. The other thing that's really apparent through a podcast is we know whether we like someone or not, right? We can look at someone's Instagram, we can see their curated feed, we can see what they're putting out to the world. But when we listen to a podcast, we kind of really get an insight into the way that their brain works, their energy, how they make us feel. It's almost like having a conversation with a friend. So we can really vet who you want to work with, which is going to mean that the right clients are going to come to you, right? I had a client the other day, it made me giggle because she got an email reading. I did some quick questions and sent them out while Sebby was in hospital. And she said, I normally really hate when people swear, but for some reason I found it really funny when you do. Or I find, ew, there's a fly. I find it really funny when you do. And I was like, oh my God, I can't believe someone purchased from me or is in my realm who doesn't like swearing. Because that's who I am. That's my authentic nature. That's who I am. So when we get to show up as more as who we are, we drop the facade of having to be a certain way, right? Because all of us is on the table. Yeah, all of us is on the table. Podcast, you can invite guests on, you can share your knowledge, you can teach your audience through learning through yourself by bringing a guest on. When Leisha and I, my friend, ran the Permission Givers, we would always have guests. And it was so cool because it was almost like having a coaching session with people, or it was like having a reading or whatever. Like it was such a beautiful experience for us. It was really rewarding. But one of the number one reasons is it's going to allow you to express yourself. It's an evergreen marketing product, and it's a way to really stamp your authority into your world, your realm. I don't like the word niche, right? I'm a manifesting generator. I've read something the other day that was like, don't settle for a career that only allows you to express 10% of your personality. And this is why, a lot of my work, well, all of my work is around women's empowerment. But there's a few pockets of that, and the business pocket is a pocket that I've kind of shoved to the background for a while in how to help women in business because I was like, oh, I need a niche. But then I'm like, oh, but I love relationships and I'm doing relationship work with my husband. We're offering that, and I'm offering psychic readings and I'm coaching. And then I'm like, I'm going to help people with their business. And I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? I'm empowering women. That's what I do. And I use my life skills, my experience, the things that I've had to learn to give you the easier route, right? That's what I do because it empowers you and it's fucking sick. And that's what I'm here for. I'm never going to get keen. So, my babes, we're going to start a podcast. I do not care if you don't think anyone will listen. I do not care if you've only got one subject to talk about. I don't care. I just want you to start your podcast, okay? I look back at my podcast and I've had about 30,000 downloads, right? I could look at that and see some people have had millions, whatever. I could look at that and be like, oh my God, that's not good enough. Or I can look at that and be like, 30,000 times somebody, lots of people, have hit play on my podcast, on what I've had to say. Most of those are returning people as well. I have a similar number of episode listens to most episodes, which shows me that, I've got a loyal base that listen to a lot of the things that I have to say. So, if I can help one person feel better, then a podcast episode is worth it. If I can give one person some tips to move forward with their life, that podcast episode is worth it. Now, what you're probably noticing is I'm tripping on my words today. I'm a bit coughing. I'm doing all the I'm laughing. I'm stopping. I'm changing my train of thought. And I love this for you because what this means is you don't have to be perfect to be on a podcast, right? And so when I first had my podcast, I would record an episode. I would give it to my husband. He's in a band. He's really good with sound and audio, and he would edit it. So he would, cut out if I made a mistake, I'd ask him to cut it out. Or if there was a gap, I'd ask him to cut it out. And there wasn't much editing that he had to do for me. But when I would have guests on, he would try and match the tempo and all that kind of stuff. Now, I found it was holding me back from doing as many episodes as I wanted because I didn't want to overload him with editing. I don't edit anymore. Okay. I do not edit. I just roll with it. Like the kids interrupt me. I'll be like, hey, babes, what do you want? That's part of my brand. That's part of empowering women. We don't not have to be perfect and we don't have to edit all parts of ourselves. Okay. So everything that happens on my podcast just unfolds. So if you don't have editing skills, cool, don't worry about it. You can also pay people to edit your episodes, but I really don't think it's necessary. So we're going to go with a basic tutorial today, and I'm going to speak it and then I'm going to put the practical steps into our ebook. So my loves, this is how I set up, okay? And you can definitely look at other ways, but I think this works for me, and this is what I'm going to share with you because has been a really great formula for success for me. So I jump on Zoom and I hit record to my computer. I do have a Blue Yeti microphone. You can pick them up secondhand for about $100, or I think they're about $250 in the shop. You don't necessarily need a microphone, but I would highly suggest that you get one. That is the only piece of equipment that you're going to need to purchase to have a podcast. You're not going to need mixers or anything like that. You don't necessarily need a microphone, but it will make your audio sound better. The other setting that I have on my Zoom is I suppress background noise. That is really powerful for just general noises or just really zoning in on my voice. It's a really great feature. It is not the most sophisticated technology. A sound technician would probably be like, oh my God, I can't believe you're telling people to use this. Go and listen to my podcast and you'll notice. And there's one of my podcasts that I recorded while our house was being renovated and I didn't have my microphone and I didn't have noise suppression on, and it's fucking terrible. So you'll notice the difference, okay? But it was such a potent and emotional episode that I kept it up there. So what I'm trying to say here is you don't need to be perfect, and these little tips will help you out. So Zoom suppression, get that happening. To do so, I think that you just go to Zoom and settings. Let me have a look in real time for you. You go to audio and you scroll down, background noise suppression, auto, done. Okay. For me, that's perfect. It even will suppress my dogs barking if they bark. But as I say, I don't actually mind. I don't mind if the dogs bark in a potty. I'm a real person. It's okay. I'm not faking it. And I think this is the powerful part. And this is what I always empower with women is authenticity, my love. We don't need to show up and be like, I always dress in a suit and I record my podcast in a studio and I always look fucking fantastic. Who gives a fuck? No one cares. You're actually doing it the hard way if you're doing it that way. So I'm going to talk about the audio aspect. If you're wanting to add video aspect to your podcast, you can use, the Zoom video if you wanted to. You could set up a camera if you wanted to as well. I don't bother. I can't be bothered, right? To me, I'm just like, I'm not doing clips. I'm not doing that. I don't want to do it. Okay. So this is how I record my podcast. I jump on Zoom and I hit record to my computer and make sure those background noises are suppressed. I have my microphone plugged in, of course. And down the bottom, there is an audio microphone. You click on the arrow beside that, and that will tell you what equipment is working. So for me, it says Yeti Nano, done, cool. So because there's like a built-in system mic and all the things as well. I hit record on my Zoom and I go with I record my episode and I speak and when I'm done, I say thank you, bye, and I hang up. And then I go to Buzzsprout, which is BUZZSPROUT.com. Buzzsprout is a podcast hosting directory. Okay. So I take my Zoom recording and I drop it in the new episode. So of course you're going to have to set up an account. You're going to have to set up a podcast name, all of those things. But I just want to share with you how simple it is to publish a podcast episode, right? All of those other things, you guys are not plebs. You're going to do it. You're on your own. That's totally fine. You don't need me to hold your hand through that. But I want to show you how easy it is to publish an episode. So you talk your shit, you upload it, you put an episode title in, and then you write the description, you hit publish, and you're good to go. Now, there is a section on Buzzsprout which says publish to directories. You hit that once, and that will automatically send your podcast episodes to Spotify if you select Spotify, to Apple if you select Apple. So they're the main ones that I would suggest. iHeartRadio is quite good as well, but tick them all, whatever, who cares? Get your podcast out there everywhere. But for me, it's Apple and Spotify. Spotify has my most downloads by far, but Apple's also a good modality as well. So you can tick those when you're pushing them out. You just play around with the Buzzsprout website. So in terms of costs, I subscribe to Zoom because I see clients on Zoom. So I think I pay $20 a month Zoom. I pay $26 a month Buzzsprout. However, if you've got a smaller amount of episodes, I think I've got like 300 episodes or something. If you've got a smaller amount of episodes, i.e. when you're starting out, it's like $7 or something. It's very, very cheap. So that's your hosting done. Now, there's other parts and pieces that are going to make your podcast much, much more professional. So if you listen to my podcast, you'll hear it say, welcome to the Inner Know with Janelle Bridge, right? That intro, you only need to record once, okay? And you record that, you download some royalty-free music, or you pay for some royalty music to put in with your intro. Now, that's the only mixing that you'll need to do, is to create an intro. I have an offer for you where my husband will do that for you. So just message me, Dan, if you would like him to do that for you. It will be really reasonable. And he will fade it in and make it sound fantastic. So he did mine. You can have a listen to that and hear how that sounds. But essentially, once you upload that to Buzzsprout once, you no longer have to do that again. So that's set up, your intro set up, you're just recording an episode through Zoom, you're taking the end of that audio, you're whacking it onto Buzzsprout, and away you go. Your episode is there. I also have some tips and tricks that I want to share with you around how you can make the most of your content that you've just published on a podcast. I am pretty piss poor with it, okay? I feel like if I did record the video of my podcast and put little snippets everywhere, my following would probably be huge, because I think it's such a great way to hack authority, to be standing there with a podcast and talking, and have that video footage shown around social media. As I said, couldn't be bothered, whatever, probably should lean into it at some point, but I do what floats my boat. It doesn't float my boat. Yeah. It just doesn't float my boat. So what I do, there's a few little cheeky ways that you can do this. What I do is I put my Zoom audio into descript.com, which is a subscription-based website. It's about $30 a month, and it will create a perfect transcript of my audio of my podcast. And then I put that into ChatGPT and I say, can you create an episode description for me? Because ChatGPT knows me so well, it will create an episode description that sounds like how I speak. And it's using my own words and my own content to kind of go, right, this is important. This is what she's speaking about. Then I'll tweak it and make it more me. And that's my episode description. What I can do from there is then go, all right, I want to create a social media post from this. Can you help me cut it down? Can you help me create an email marketing email that goes out for this as well? There's so many, like once you create that content, I'm really big on like, okay, how do we make the most of that content? Yeah. And for ages, I did nothing with the content. I didn't even upload transcripts. So you can upload a transcript to Buzzsprout, which will help with SEO. So, my last podcast episode on the Inner Know was around what to do when you feel like you're outgrowing your partner. And so me uploading a transcript for that means that will be more searchable in Google. Yeah. And that podcast episode might come up when someone searches that. It's not, you don't have to do it, but there's all these little extra tips and tricks. So what I would suggest with this, my love, if you're following along, is like, create your intro, get Dan to mix it if you need. Then you're ready to create a podcast episode. Create that. Then as you get in the hang of that, then you can add the transcripts or the descript and all that kind of stuff as well. Okay. You don't have to start it out straight away. But I'm very big on, if you're creating a piece of content, push it as far as it can go. Yeah. So for me, as I say, I spent the first year and a bit of my podcast just recording podcasts, and that's it. And sometimes I do a bit of a post and you can take little sound bites, all these things, but I didn't really bother. And then I started to incorporate them in my email marketing, which would get more people onto the potty as well. And now I feel like it's only recently, only the last couple of months, that I've started to use these AI tools to make the most out of my original content. I hate AI for like, hey, create me a post that has nothing to do with me. But AI can be so powerful, particularly for managers who like to cut corners, to be like, I need to say this and I want to share this and I want to direct them here. And this is what's really on my heart today. And they can be like, yep, bang, let's go. What do you think? And as managers, we go, fuck yeah. Yep, or no, doesn't sound right. So lean into artificial intelligence as well. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with doing that. So my loves, that is a really fucking simple, cheap and effective way to create a podcast. Okay. Simplicity, get a microphone. Get a microphone. I know you probably can't be bothered. Get a microphone. You can pick them up secondhand, Facebook Marketplace, $100. You can pick them up on Amazon, I think, for about 200 delivered to your door. Then you've got the one piece of equipment that you need to start your podcast. Okay. Then you want to jump on Zoom. I would say play around with your intro. All right. I can't even remember what my intro says, but the shorter the better. A long intro is, we don't want to do it. 30 seconds. Hi, welcome to the Inner Know with Janelle Bridge. Can't even remember what else I say. Can't even remember. Go listen, see what you think. But really, it's just that lead in, because if you press play on an episode and it said, so today we're going to talk about this, that's fine. But it's a bit of a lead in into your life. I fucking hate when people have a massive intro and I have to like fast forward like 6 minutes to get to them starting the episode because they're talking about all their offerings and all that kind of stuff. Again, you can do that. There's other things like you can do to add into your effectiveness of your podcast marketing. So you can add in mid-section B-roll, which is essentially where the podcast goes to a break and you say, hey, interrupting your podcast to tell you about my latest offer. And that will auto insert into every episode that you have until you end it. And then you could auto insert, so whatever you've got coming up, again, we've got evergreen content. So if I was to do that now and put on an offering of, say, a retreat that's coming up, and someone goes to listen to my first episode that I released 2 years ago, they will still get that B-roll. They will still get advertising for my current offerings. But I don't want to overwhelm you. As promised, this is a basic guide to simply getting your work out there. Now, one of the reasons that my businesses are successful are because I move, right? My husband's a generator. He's a detail man. I'm a manager. I move fast. Doesn't matter what your human design is, you can choose to move a little faster. And so for my husband, he likes to research the steps and make sure that they're right and check step 1 and then check it again and then move to step 2 and then check step 1 and step 2 and then see if there's any. What's step 10? How do I get there fastest? Let's go. So something that my husband and I have, he's taught me a bit about details, but I've taught him a lot about done is better than perfect. Okay. Messy content is better than no content, right? Messy, putting your shit out there is better than not putting yourself out there at all. And the more that you sit back on and like wait for the perfect moment, the perfect content, the perfect hair day. My hair is so annoying today. It looks fine on here, but like it's just all over the shop. And I'm very overstimulated today. I've actually put my dog, Johnny's down here, but I put Duffers outside because I'm just feeling really overstimulated with everything at the moment. You'll never be perfectly in the right energy. You'll never be looking perfect. You'll never be having the perfect background, the perfect circumstances. So you just have to jump. Yeah, some forward momentum. I hope this is helpful. If there's any part of this process that you're stuck on, please feel free to email me, DM me on Instagram. If you would like Dan to create the intro for you, just DM me Dan or shoot me an email that says Dan. What you will need to do is record that intro piece yourself. So that, hi, this is blah, 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 right? And choose the music that you want. You'll email that to Dan. Dan will bring that back to you as an intro that's ready to go, similar to my own, okay? super simple, super cheap, super affordable. So you can literally, with a microphone, with a subscription, with an intro piece, start, I reckon, your podcast for $250. Yeah. You could go cheaper if you do your own intro piece and buy your own microphone and all that kind of stuff as well. Like as in you get it cheaper. But again, don't get overwhelmed. Blue Yeti's fine. It's what a lot of podcasters have. Before that, I had an Elgato Wave. Yeah, I love the Blue Yeti because I think it looks kind of cool as well because my office is in my living area. So I like to have things that, and I mean, it's just a bit wound up. We're still renovating here, that look kind of aesthetically pleasing as well. Not like a piece of band equipment in my lounge room, which having a husband who's a muso, that has happened many, many fucking times. If we go back in the archives, some of you remember when he set up his lighting in my lounge room. So the boys have like this incredible, extremely expensively, crazily chaotic, like band lighting that they program with the songs. And I had band lighting in my little cottage in my lounge room, big trusses for, I reckon, 8 weeks before I lost my shit. I don't think I could handle it for 8 days these days. Anyway, my babes, if any part of this process feels sticky, please let me know because I don't want to gloss over anything. And, if you're stuck with it, someone else might be. So I can always edit the ebook to include more. But please let me know when you publish your first episode because I want to come and champion it. I want to share it. I want to listen to it and I want to support you. So have a beautiful day, my loves. And thank you for trusting yourself and trusting me to guide you. Bye. Also, actually, if you need a one-on-one to walk through the steps, let me know. We can set something up. Have a beautiful day, babe. Bye.